It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone says you have 4 hours left before your alarm. Your brain says you're broken. But the real answer is far stranger. You've been told that waking up in the middle of the night is a problem, a symptom, something to fix with melatonin, blackout curtains, or a sleep app that tracks every twitch. But for almost all of human history, that 3 a.m. wake-up wasn't a malfunction. It was the plan. Your ancestors didn't sleep the way you think they did. They didn't lie down at 10 p.m. and stay unconscious for 8 straight hours until a screeching alarm dragged them upright. That pattern, the one you've been failing to achieve your whole life, might not even be natural. So what were your ancestors actually doing in the dark? And why does your body still seem to remember it? Let's go back. Not centuries, not even to your grandparents, just back to before electric light existed at all. Millions of people experience this same 3 a.m. moment. Different cities, different lives, same quiet confusion. Most of them reach for the same explanations. Stress, caffeine, screen time before bed. All of those can play a role. But none of them explain why this exact pattern, waking in the dead of night, alert, then drifting off again before dawn, shows up across cultures, across centuries, across people who've never met and never compared notes. In the early 1990s, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr ran an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took a group of volunteers and placed them in near-total darkness for 14 hours a night. No screens, no lamps, no streetlights leaking through curtains. Just darkness for 14 hours every night for a month. At first, the volunteers slept a lot. Their bodies were catching up on years of sleep debt. But after a few weeks, something unexpected happened. Their sleep split in two. They would fall asleep for about 4 hours. Then they'd wake up. Not in a panic. Not checking the time with dread. They'd simply be awake, calm, alert, lying quietly in the dark for an hour or two. Then they'd drift back into a second 4-hour sleep before morning. We're called this biphasic sleep. 2 phases with a quiet waking window in between. And here's the strange part. This wasn't some broken outlier pattern his volunteers stumbled into. It was the default. Remove artificial light, and the human body slides into this rhythm on its own. Sound familiar? That quiet hour you spend awake at 3 a.m., frustrated, scrolling, wondering what's wrong with you? Your great-great-great-grandparents probably spent that same hour too. They just didn't think anything was wrong. But why would the body split sleep into 2 halves at all? Wouldn't one long block be more efficient? Not necessarily. Sleep itself isn't one uniform state. It moves through cycles: light sleep, deep sleep, dream sleep, repeating roughly every 90 minutes. A long winter night, 14 hours of darkness, doesn't map neatly onto a single block of those cycles. At some point, the body completes a natural set, drifts toward lighter sleep, and the mind simply surfaces. Not because anything went wrong, because the cycle finished. A historian named A. Roger Ekirch went looking for evidence of this in old documents, diaries, court records, medical texts, literature going back hundreds of years. And he found it everywhere, hiding in plain sight. People in pre-industrial Europe referred casually to first sleep and second sleep, not as something rare or special, just as normal parts of the night, the way you might say before lunch and after lunch. Ekirch found references to it in Homer, in Chaucer, in Dickens. Doctors recommended that couples conceive children during the gap between first and second sleep, because people were rested, relaxed, and not exhausted from a full day's labor yet. Think about that. An entire structure of nightly life, built around 2 sleeps and a waking gap, just quietly disappeared. And it disappeared so completely that when modern people experience it, they assume they're sick. So what changed? One word, mostly: light. As artificial lighting spread, first candles and oil lamps, then gas, then electric bulbs, nighttime stopped being uniformly dark. People stayed up later. They compressed their sleep into 1 block, because the evening hours now felt like extended daytime. The 2-sleep pattern faded within a few generations. By the time your grandparents were children, almost nobody remembered it had ever existed. But here's the question worth sitting with. If your body still defaults to this pattern the moment artificial light is removed, what does that say about the 8 hours straight model you've been measuring yourself against? It might say that the model is the anomaly, not you. Now let's go even further back. Not to pre-industrial farmers, but to people living the way humans lived for almost the entire span of our existence. In small mobile groups with fire, but without walls that fully sealed out the world. A neuroscientist named Jerome Siegel led research teams to study sleep in 3 modern hunter-gatherer and pre-industrial societies: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia. These are groups whose daily rhythms are about as close as researchers can ethically get to how humans lived before agriculture, before cities, before clocks. What Siegel's team found surprised a lot of sleep scientists. These groups didn't sleep more than people in industrialized countries. If anything, they sometimes slept slightly less, often around 6 to 7 hours. And here's the detail that really mattered. None of them had a word for insomnia. Not because they were too busy to complain, because waking during the night simply wasn't framed as a problem. People would wake, sometimes tend the fire, sometimes talk quietly, sometimes just lie there, and then sleep again. Nobody tracked it. Nobody worried about it. It was just night happening the way night happens. The Hadza, in particular, don't sleep in sealed rooms. Families rest near a low fire, in the open air or under simple shelters, with the sounds of the bush all around them. Rustling, calls, wind. A body that tunes all of that out completely for 8 hours straight would be a body that misses a lot. So instead, sleep there seems to ride closer to the surface. Lighter, more easily interrupted, and apparently none the worse for it. Why might that be? Here's the counterintuitive twist. A body that sleeps in one uninterrupted block for 8 hours in total darkness with zero awareness of its surroundings is a vulnerable body. For nearly all of human evolutionary history, that vulnerability had a cost. Predators, rival groups, fires that needed tending, a baby that needed checking on, a nervous system that surfaces partway through the night, takes stock, listens, and then settles back down isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was shaped to do over hundreds of thousands of years. That brief waking window may have been a built-in safety check. Pause to confirm. Still safe, still warm, still here. And the quiet hour itself wasn't wasted time. Anthropologists studying fireside behavior in small-scale societies have noted that nighttime waking often became a social moment. Low murmured conversation, storytelling, the kind of slow, unhurried talk that rarely happens during the bright, task-filled day. Some researchers, including those building on Carol Worthman's work on sleep ecology, have argued that this nighttime wakefulness may have served a quiet social function, a kind of bonding time built into the dark. So picture it. A small group after dark. The fire is low. Most are asleep, but a few are awake, not stressed, just present. Someone shifts. Someone whispers something. The group, even half-conscious, stays connected. Then, gradually, sleep returns. Now picture your own 3 a.m. Same biological window. Same ancient nervous system surfacing on schedule. Except now you're alone. In a sealed room, illuminated by a phone screen, with a notifications badge instead of a fire and a quiet voice beside you. The waking itself isn't new. The loneliness and the glowing rectangle are. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Modern sleep researchers have found that people who frame their nighttime waking as catastrophic, "I'll be exhausted, I'm broken, this is bad," tend to stay awake longer and feel worse the next day. People who treat it as normal, who simply rest quietly without reaching for a screen or a clock, tend to drift back to sleep faster and report feeling more rested, even with the exact same total sleep time. In other words, the waking was never really the problem. The panic about the waking was. Think about what that panic actually does. The moment you decide that being awake at 3 a.m. means something is wrong, your body responds as if something is wrong. Heart rate ticks up. Stress hormones rise. The mind starts cataloging tomorrow's problems, one after another, because alertness has nowhere else to go. A quiet biological pause turns into a private emergency, played out silently in the dark, night after night. Now compare that to the picture from the Hadza camp, or the pre-industrial farmhouse between first and second sleep. No clock glowing on the nightstand. No tomorrow to dread, because tomorrow doesn't start until the sun does. Just a body, awake, in the dark, with nowhere it needs to be and nothing it needs to solve. The waking is identical. The meaning attached to it is not. So what does this mean for you, lying there tonight watching the ceiling? It means your body might not be failing. It might be doing something it has done for hundreds of thousands of nights, long before clocks existed to judge it. The ancient brain doesn't know what a digital alarm clock is. It doesn't know you have a meeting at 9 a.m. It only knows the old rhythm. Sleep, surface, listen, rest again. That rhythm isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. The 8-hour block is the recent guest. The 2-part night is the old resident. Maybe the fix isn't another sleep app. Maybe it's permission. Permission to lie there, in the dark, without reaching for your phone, without calculating how many hours you have left, without treating the moment as an emergency. Just a quiet window. The same quiet window your ancestors sat in, by firelight, 500,000 years ago. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're gonna flip a switch. Light will flood the room and you won't think twice about it. But somewhere around 3 a.m., when that light is gone and your eyes open in the dark, you won't be broken. You'll just be exactly where humans have always been. Awake, for a little while, in the quiet, waiting for sleep to come back around.